Hey guys, if you clicked on this video, the chances are your knees are feeling a little bit dodgy. Maybe they feel weak, unstable, maybe you have a bit of pain and discomfort, and if this is the case, then this workout is designed for you. This is a workout that I've done over the years that just helps my knees stay strong and stable. This video is definitely not for people who currently have an injury. If that's the case for you, you probably want to do more rehab focused training. Okay, so the first phase of the workout is going to be really focused on the lower limb, so the muscles below the knee. We really want to make sure that these muscles are nice and strong, so they're supporting the ankle, because ultimately we want to make sure the ankle isn't collapsing in, which in turn is going to make the knee collapse in. This is going to be in the form of a superset. So the first exercise is going to be a banded tib raise. So for this, we are attaching a band to a rig or something similar, and then we're attaching the band to the top of the foot, and then we're just simply thinking about curling the foot up towards the shin, and this is going to activate the anterior tibialis muscle, the muscle that runs all through the front of the lower leg, and this muscle is responsible for creating stability through the ankle, which ultimately again is going to help us to avoid any ankle collapse, and will also help us to create ankle dorsiflexion, which is driving the knee over the toes. So a really important muscle to train. Now we can obviously make this harder by increasing the resistance, so we can move further away from the attachment point, or we can progress to a heavier band. I like to do low sets but high volume here, so we can look to do 2 sets of 20 on each side, and we're going to superset this one with a single leg elevated calf raise. So for this, we are setting up next to a wall, and we want to have our heel elevated with either a weight plate or a slant board or something similar, and then we want to kind of lean in towards the wall. So both these things combined is going to ensure that we're working full range of motion, so we're getting a stretch in that end range, and then we're driving the heel all the way up into a shortened position with the calf. So you're kind of killing 2 birds in 1 stone with this exercise. Really valuable way to approach it. For this, we can progress by moving further and further away from the wall, or we could hold onto a weight with the same side hand as the leg that's doing the calf raise. Again, we want to do low sets but high reps, so we're going to look to do 2 sets of 15 reps on each side. One really important cue to think about with this one is make sure that you're applying pressure into the big toe and the 4th toe. This is going to ensure that your ankle is staying aligned and not collapsing in or out to the side. Cool, so that is how we're going to build strength through the lower limb. But we're now going to tie this together with a stability drill. So we're simply going to be balancing on one leg, but we're going to be set up on 2 blocks, where you've got the top of the foot on one block and then the base of the foot on another block. You could use yoga blocks. Some of my clients stack up books. Whatever you have will work. Just find something similar. And then we are really, again, thinking about the pressure with the foot. So we want to actually have some pressure through the heel. We want to have pressure in the big toe. And again, we want to have pressure in the 4th toe. This is creating what we call a foot tripod, where we've got the weight evenly distributed, and this allows us to stay nice and stable and maintain a nice arch underneath the base of the foot. When we talk about pressure here with the toes, we're not thinking about gripping and curling the toes under too much. We're just thinking about applying downward pressure into the blocks. That's really going to help you to maintain that arch. We can allow for a very soft bend in the knee, and then we really want to try to maintain that arch as much as possible. Now, aside from the lower limb stability, we're also going to be training our hip stabilizer, the outer glute, as we are just balancing on one leg. This single leg stability work is very important for longevity in your training, and will obviously help you progress to single leg movements like pistol squats, dragon squats, etc. For this, you're simply just going to do 1 set on each side, but you're going to try and hold for 60 seconds. And as you improve and build confidence, try and build that up to 2 minutes on each side. Okay guys, so we've really dialed in the lower limb. We're now going to directly move into the knee itself, working through the 2 ranges of motion that the knee is responsible for, which is knee flexion and extension, i.e. straightening your leg and then bending your leg. We want to be strong and confident with these ranges. So we're first going to work on the knee extension with some kettlebell knee extensions, and you're going to be set up on a box or a bench, and you want to have your thigh resting on the bench and then your lower leg hanging off the edge of the bench, and then you're simply going to loop a kettlebell through your foot, and you can add a towel or a t-shirt just to improve the comfort. It can be quite uncomfortable having your foot directly connected to the kettlebell here. Now for this, we're simply going to work on extending the knee, so just straightening the knee out in front of you, and we want to go kind of just before the point of lockout, okay? We don't want to be fully locking out on every rep, so go just before that point where your leg kind of fully locks out. Now what we're going to be doing here is strengthening the VMO, which is the muscle that sits just above the knee. It's this teardrop shaped muscle, and it really helps to provide stability to the knee. So very valuable to be strengthening this muscle. Now we can progress this by actually adding height. So we can place a yoga block underneath the thigh initially, and then we could look to add another yoga block under the thigh, and this is going to be closing the gap between the thigh and the torso, which is ultimately going to make the knee extension harder. You could take this even further and actively pull your knee in towards your chest without the yoga blocks and extend your knee from here, but that is quite advanced. This is going to be something that you progress to slowly over time. You could start here with just doing body weight, so not actually having a kettlebell, and then adding in 4 kg and then 6 kg and then 8 kg. You don't want to be increasing the height until you can confidently do 3 sets of 8 on both sides with 8 kilograms. So set that as your initial target. So to superset with the knee extensions, we're going to work some knee flexion. Now the muscle that is responsible for flexing the knee is the hamstrings, so we are going to strengthen this area in the form of a hamstring bridge iso hold on one leg. So for this, you're going to lay on your back in front of a bench, a box, or a similar surface. You want that surface to be about the height of the knees, and then you're going to set one foot onto the surface, onto your heel, and then the other foot you can have your knee in towards your chest. This is going to help you to tuck your pelvis under and not arch into your lower back. You want to set up with a distance from the box or the bench where you have a very soft bend in the knee. From here, you're going to drive the hips up, and again, really focus on tucking the pelvis under so that your core is engaged and you're not collapsing into your lower back. And we want to consistently think about pressing that heel down into the bench or the surface as hard as possible, and that's really going to activate and strengthen your hamstrings, which ultimately will assist with the knee flexion. Now here, we're going to do 3 sets of 20-second holds on both sides. To progress this, you could obviously increase the time that you're holding, or you could have your foot placed on a less stable surface like a medicine ball, gymnastics rings, or even a foam roller. Great, so far phase 1 we've worked on the lower limb. Phase 2 we've worked direct into knee flexion and extension. Phase 3 we're just going to work on some lateral stability, so we're going to be wanting to train our lateral hip stabilizers, so working on hip abduction where we're pulling the knee out to the side, and I like to do this in the form of banded standing abductions or standing banded abductions. And for this, you're going to set up with a band attached to a rig, a kettlebell, or something similar, and we want a very light band here. You're going to balance on one leg with the band wrapped around the outer foot, and then you're simply just going to pull your leg out to the side as high as possible, and you're trying to keep every other part of your body nice and stable. You also want to keep the foot rotated forwards so that we're training the outer hip, the outer glutes, and this is really where the stability comes in. If we're strong through these hip stabilizers, it's going to mean the knee is much more likely to stay fixed and not wobble when we're doing side-to-side movements. If you're someone like me who plays racket sports, you know how important it is to be confident and be strong in side-to-side / lateral movements. For this, as I said, use a very light band, and we want to go for 2 sets of 10 reps on each side. Now with those reps, you want to hold for at least 1 second at the top of each rep so that you can really feel that connection into the outer hip. So this isn't a superset here, you're simply just going to work on those 2 sets of 10 reps before we move to phase 4. Okay guys, the final part of this workout is going to be a loaded squat movement. We really want to be strengthening that knees over toes position with a movement that's going to allow us to easily increase resistance over time. I'm going to give you 2 exercises here, and if you're doing this workout twice a week, which I would recommend, you want to switch between the 2 exercises. The reason is we want to work both a single leg and a double leg movement. aka unilateral bilateral movement. So for our unilateral movement, we're going to go for a split squat. A lot of you will be familiar with this movement because of the knees over toes community, which really treasures this movement, and rightfully so. You're going to have your heel elevated by using a slant board, weight plates, or something similar, and then with the feet staggered, rather than kind of bending through both legs like a lunge, we're just going to be thinking about bending the front leg and really driving that knee over the toes as much as possible. Again, we want to maintain the pressure through the big toe and the fourth toe to keep the ankle nice and aligned. And another thing to think about is make sure that your back leg, the hip, is twisted in towards the front leg. Now for this, we can obviously load the movement up by having kind of 2 kettlebells held in both hands, or by just holding one heavy kettlebell by the chest. We really want to focus on increasing the resistance here, adding 2.5 kg each week. If you're a beginner, if you're more advanced, the progressions are going to be slightly slower, perhaps looking to increase by 2.5 every 2 weeks. Things to think about here is really try to maintain tension through the glutes so that you're not collapsing into your lower back, and really just try to dial in that pressure through the big toe and the fourth toe of the front foot. We're going to work with 3 sets of 8 reps on both sides. Now the other exercise, the bilateral movement, is simply just going to be a heel elevated squat. So you're using a slant board or weight plates to elevate the heels, and then for this we're simply trying to approach our squat by just thinking about having the knees drive over the toes as opposed to deviating laterally like you might do in a conventional squat. We want to try and maintain a nice upright posture, a neutral spine as we go through these squats. Again, we can hold on to a weight and we can increase the weight over time to get that progressive overload and to get the lasting results. For this, I would actually suggest doing high rep volume, so doing 2 sets of 20 reps. I would set an initial goal of doing 20 reps at a quarter of your body weight. Cool guys, there you have it. That is the routine that I go through to keep my knees bulletproofed and to prevent injury and just to feel stable and strong in day-to-day movement and in sport. I would recommend doing this 2 times a week. If you can push to 3 times a week, that's even better. Please let me know in the comments if you found this routine valuable, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks guys, and I will see you on the next video. Peace out.